Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Um, we're back after how long has it been? I mean, I was here in November, but it has been a long time. But we are. Ish, this is very very distracting. We are back, and it's very good to be back, and can't wait to talk to you guys. Um, I think I just wanted to like start off by just yapping because it's very very important. And in this video particularly, or this live video, I wanted to talk to you guys about the whole idea of procrastination and how most people just make it difficult, and it's one of the most easiest things, right, to just configure and figure out or what's actually going on. So my my take on the whole procrastination thingy is very simple, right? It's very simple, and it's like it's very easy to procrastinate, but then at the same time, it's just like it's very easy to not procrastinate. So essentially, what happens when someone procrastinates most of the time, rather not always, what happens is that it's something along where you are doing something instead of doing what you should be doing. That's essentially the whole idea of procrastination. When we say that person is procrastinating, they are simply just doing something instead of what they should be doing, right? And it's very simple. It's a very simple thing. It's a very simple thought process type of thing. I hope that makes sense. And someone asked me, Jorge, how do you just go about the whole idea of procrastination? Because it's like I want to study, but I don't feel like it. So what I just do is that I just procrastinate. I'll do it later. I'll do it later. I'll do it later. And my response to that one is very simple, right? It's something elong hore, instead of doing what you should be doing, you are doing something else, right? So like for example, most people, you are on your phone instead of doing what you should be doing. So when you say I'll do it later, it's not that you dislike what you're supposed to be doing. If you say you're going to do your assignment later, it's not that you don't know that you're supposed to do it. You know, like you have an assignment, you have this thing to complete, right? But the only reason you are not completing that assignment is because you have something to procrastinate to. You get what I'm saying? So if I am leaving my books right now, if I choose to like leave my books and do something else, the problem here is not that I am procrastinating because I don't want to do the assignment, but the problem is I have something to procrastinate to. So, like, for example, for most people, it's like when you say I'll do it later, you choose to like go on your phone, you choose to go on TikTok. So the problem is really not about what do you call this thing? It's not about the work that you have, the amount of work that you have. Like, yes, all those things, would you break the work down, break it down, it'll be easier. They do work, right? They do work in certain instances. Most of the books that like are about procrastination, they just talk about how you should break down your work, break down the work. It'll be easier for you to digest and easier for you to like essentially just work on the what is at hand, right? It's gonna be easier. You can break down the work, but then if I still have something that is distracting me, if I still have my phone next to me, there's no way I'm going to touch that assignment. There's absolutely no way. If I still have sleep, right? So I know people who procrastinate to sleep, right? So it's like I'll do it later and then I sleep, right? Or I'll do it later, I go on TikTok. I'll do it later, I choose to go out with my friends, right? So when as a person, you just have to identify hore during that short procrastination phase when you say ish, when you say I'll do it later, right? What do you do? at that particular moment, right? When you say I'm gonna do the assignment later, there is something that you're doing at that particular moment. And it's such a fascinating concept. You know, when I think about procrastination, it's like it's a very small thing, but then at the same time it can kill you, it can damage the rest of your entire year, right? So essentially what happens is that you say to yourself, I'm gonna do this assignment later, I'm gonna work on this thing later. But if you didn't have a phone, or if you were not prioritizing sleep, you would have had no choice but to just do the work at that particular moment, right? So it's like in some situation, it's just in some situations it's just gonna be into a hore. You have something that you're prioritizing of over the work, right? You have something that you're prioritizing over your academic work, and how you are always the one who's preaching hore, hey, school comes first. But then that thing that you're procrastinating to is what actually comes first. And unfortunately, that's like the honest truth. And like another thing that I saw somewhere is just on the fact that like most people, like when you procrastinate, there's always gonna be that thing inside of your head, like at the back of your head, yeah, hore, yo, I still have work to do. You get what I'm saying? Like there's always gonna be that small voice that tells you, hore, I'm gonna do your work. It's not looking nice, wabo. But then you still choose to like not do the work. And it's not it's not something eleng hore we choose to do, you know, it's just how the brain works. And like how I explained it, it's very easy to just say I'll do it later, because you know that right now at this particular moment you have something that you can console to. You have your phone, right? If you didn't have a phone, you wouldn't really be saying I'm gonna do the assignment later, because you don't have something that's gonna distract you. You don't have something to keep you busy right now. You get what I'm saying? So we only procrastinate because of distractions. You only procrastinate because of a certain cue, right? I think they're called cues. So there is a certain cue that will trigger you and tell you, hore, leave the work. Tell yourself, hore, you're gonna do the work later. And then right now, focus on TikTok, you know? And then how we frame it, Rina, we are saying, uh, I am procrastinating because I don't like my work. But then in actual fact, it's the other way around. It's like you want to do the work, but then there is something that is standing in the way. For some people, it's sleep. For some people, it's TikTok. For some people, it's music. I remember, but this was like back in grade 10. I would like procrastinate listening to music, right? So I would like listen to one song, and then it's a very good song, and then repeat that song, and I'm like, oh, this is a very good song. Time I have to study. Oh, so it's like you just keep on like repeating and repeating and repeating, and you know that you have to like do your work, but then there is something that's keeping you busy right now. So obviously, I don't want to abandon that thing because it's just too nice, or it's something that feels good. I enjoy the music more than I enjoy studying. So that's like the situation with most people, is that you try and make procrastination the main problem here. You say, hore, yo, I'm a very big procrastinator. But then in actual fact, you are just simply someone who is distracted by this particular thing. You're someone who's distracted by your phone. And it's that simple. Bobo. It's like, um, how do I put this? It's something along hore, even when you think about it, like the entire process of the procrastination journey, if I have work in front of me, my first instinct is that I have to do this work, right? This is an assignment that I have to do. But then, because I have something to consolidate myself with, I'm gonna run to that thing instead of this assignment. I'm gonna run to my phone. I'm gonna run to TikTok instead of this assignment. So that's essentially how it goes, and it's a very simple thing. All you need to do with the whole procrastination cycle, just listen to yourself when you say I will do it later. Ne? Listen to yourself when you say I will do it later, and then watch what you do instead of doing the work. You get what I'm saying? So there is something that you're going to do instead of that assignment that's on your desk. And that thing that you are going to run to, that is your problem. Well, procrastination is not a problem. The problem is the fact that you enjoy being on TikTok more than writing this assignment. So TikTok is your problem. You enjoy sleeping instead of writing this assignment. So sleeping is the problem. So again, just simply identify this thingy, and then once you get that, oh, okay, so my main problem here is TikTok. So what do I do? Do I uninstall TikTok? I've been having TikTok for years. I can't just uninstall it like that. But then what I usually say to someone, because most people have that excuse here, or hey, I learn from TikTok, I get information from there. I'm like, uninstall that app for a week and come back and see what you have missed, right? Because you are stuck right now, you are stuck in this illusion here, hore, I need this app and it's entertainment. Sometimes I'm bored, sometimes school is too stressful. I'm like, just 1 week, from Sunday to Sunday, remove that app from your phone, and then you will see how boring your life actually is, and how your entire life is linked to that TikTok. You will have nothing to do, and then that's when you will actually start discovering yourself. For, oh, okay, let me try out something new. Wow. So the app, the Instagram reels, the TikTok is just there to keep you busy and think that, all is good. It's there for entertainment purposes. But then once you just remove it, not even a week, just for a day, if you just remove that thing that you rely on so much for a day, you will realize how much time you actually have, how much time you actually have on your hands, and how slowly the day goes by. And then you'll be there like, I have nothing to do. And that's when you start discovering yourself. And I'm like, in that particular moment where you are bored, start, I don't know, googling, go to ChatGPT, what can I do during this time, because I'm bored, but then I don't want to be on TikTok. I want to do something when I look back in 5 years time, I'm gonna be like, oh, I used to do this. Right now, if you were in TikTok before YouTube, if I ask you, what did you just watch on TikTok, what was the last thing that you watched, there's not gonna be an answer. Oh, what did you learn from it, or what message did you get? There's no answer. It was just a funny video, and it's a normal thing, entertainment, the sharp. But then you need to find a way to fuse that entertainment with something. For example, if you're on TikTok and maybe you want to start learning how to crochet, how to paint, right? You want to start learning how to do that thingy. You go on TikTok with a particular reason. You're like, how to crochet. Now, yes, you're on TikTok, but then you have something that you're doing instead of just endlessly scrolling. It's not the same. So I'm not saying cut it off completely, but then just try to find a way to use it. What's this English? Use it to your own benefit, in a sense, right? Don't just be there and like not knowing what would I do if that American TikTok ban yet 24 hours, if it was here in South Africa, what was I gonna do with my time? So it's something you need to just think about and realize, there's so many things that I can do, but then at the same time there is still school. So now what I'm doing in my mind, I'm just using the small time that I have, I'm putting it into TikTok. So just try and like find something else that you like. Even if you don't like anything, there is something that you like. There's always gonna be something that you're going to enjoy. Maybe you haven't discovered it yet. There's so many hobbies. Read a book, start writing down your feelings, right? Grab like a novel, not a novel, man, sorry, a diary, like a blank book. Start writing down how your day is going. Journaling, that's the word I was looking for. Start journaling your day, write, or okay, right now it's 12:59. what's going on, I'm feeling like this, I'm feeling like this. And it's a beautiful thing, to reflect back to in like 5 years time, and you just look back at this journal and how it's like, wow, I used to be like this. You just have these core memories and they are written down. So it's one thing that I always recommend to anyone, to anyone, or start writing about your day. Start writing about your day and what's going on. And one thing that's going to happen is that you are always going to be ashamed to write about the fact that you were on TikTok for 3 hours. You're not gonna write that. So when you write about your day, it's like the more you write, the more that creative mind or brain side of the brain unlocks, and you just start thinking about new things to do. Because it's, imagine when every day you are there journaling. Yeah, today I was there sitting on my bed 3 hours just scrolling on TikTok. I didn't know what I was looking for. I was just bored. Obo. And boredom is something it's always gonna be there. Studying is boring. That's like one thing. It's always gonna be boring. It's not gonna change. But you still have to do it. So look for something that or you're going to look back and say, I was learning this, I was learning a language. That's one thing that you can try and do. I was learning a new language, I was learning how to play an instrument, I was reading this particular book. Even if you don't have any books online, just go online, you'll find free books. Read those free books. So there is so much that you can do with your time to replace the thing that makes you procrastinate. So most of the time we procrastinate because you always have that one distraction, and it's not easy to eliminate it. It's not easy to eliminate your phone. So try and find something you are going to do in place of the time that you were spending on TikTok. Because imagine now you uninstall TikTok. Obviously, it'll bore her because you're gonna have nothing to do with that 5 hours that you were spending on TikTok. Well, now it's a problem. It's gonna be a very huge problem. So try and understand, Hori, I need to find something else to replace this thing, because yes, I enjoy being on TikTok, but then also need to find something else. If TikTok was to disappear today, well, I'm gonna say, this is what I do for fun. So try and look for that thing before actually removing those distractions. Find um, find something that you're going to replace that distraction with. If when every single time you procrastinate, you sleep, right? You like say, I'll do it later, and then sleep. Find something to do instead of sleeping. You get what I'm saying? I'm not saying stop sleeping. It's not something you stop. But then find something to do in the afternoon instead of sleeping. Find something to do instead of being on TikTok the entire, I don't know how long you guys are on TikTok. Just go to your screen time right now and check how much time you spend on each app. It's an interesting thing. And even with me, like, it's something that hit me like during the December January period. I was always just living once what I was it was always just the thing, Yahore. Wake up, maybe you're on your phone, and then you have nothing to do throughout the day. No exercise, no meditating, no nothing. Or you're just living every single day, and then it goes by. And obviously you're not getting anything from that. Every single day is just wasted. It's just wasted. So I'm actually filming this other video, but then it's gonna take longer. Or it's gonna take longer because I just wanna show you guys the entire like improvement journey. Like, I wanna show you guys what I used to be like this. Or like, I used to just wake up and be on my phone for hours, and then I eat, I come back, I eat while on my phone, I watch TV. This is like something that happened. It's a December, January thing. And then now the video is just on how now I'm back at school, so I need to adjust now. I need to have a proper routine, because there, I was just deep into the laziness. and I was embracing that laziness, and I was like, no, I'm getting some rest, I'm getting some rest. But then that I was over getting the rest. So just make sure that you have something to do instead of what you procrastinate to. I think that's like the main message I wanted to share. It's such an important thing. It's such an important thing, especially when it comes to like your books, right? When it comes to your homework, your assignments, the things that you have to do, it's such an important thing for you to know what actually distracts you, what distracts you most of the time, and what prevents you from doing your work. Because once you identify that thing that keeps you distracted, once you identify that thing and you know, okay, this is the main problem here, and then you try and replace that thing with something else, it's going to be a whole lot easier, right? It's going to be easier to just digest everything. It's going to be easier to get into your study mode because you are moving from one thing that you enjoy to another. Well, so just try and adjust the entire thing in a sense that you find a replacement for that particular thing that you procrastinate to, and it's going to be something very easy. It's a beautiful thing to see. And yo, I've been wanting to talk about this, and I'm glad I just put it out there. So procrastination is not the enemy. The thing that's distracting you is the enemy. And I don't want to go to a point whereby I say there's no such thing as procrastination. It's there, but then it's bigger than me. It's bigger than me. So I can wait in. But then all I'm saying is try and identify those distractions, not eliminate them, but replace them. Replace the distractions, replace. And then once you replace those distractions, everything is just gonna make sense. It's gonna be a whole lot easier. It's like, oh, okay, this is how it is now. So it's gonna be something that you find easier as time goes on. And yeah, and then I think another thing I wanted to talk about was just on like how your routine, like your study routine, is always gonna change for the most part. Like not 90% of the time. Like throughout the entire year, you can't keep the same routine, right? So it's always gonna be a thing, yeah, where your routine has to keep changing. Because now if you're keeping the same routine for the entire year, at some point it'll bore and then you just give up on it. So spice things up. Sometimes study at night, even though you know that you're not a night owl, sleep in the afternoon when you come back from school, and then try studying at night. Spice things up here and there. Try changing your routine now and then, time after time, switching it up, because it is a routine, but then it's something elong hore, if you're not comfortable with it, it's never gonna turn into a habit. So when I'm saying try continue switching up the routine, this is gonna be you trying to find what works best for you. Because right now you may think, Hore, the routine that you have is like the best, but you then find out that you can even do better than that. You can work more than 4 hours a day, or so try spicing it up, do something different, add something to your routine that you do, instead of just sitting. Like your break should be a break while doing something. Like add that new hobby. When I was talking about new hobbies, try and identify something that you can add to your routine, and then every single day just keep on doing a bit of that thing, and it's gonna turn into something called, I don't know if it's a queue. Yeah, I think it's a queue. It's gonna turn into something that you call a queue, in a sense that if maybe I am learning a new language, right? And I say, well, every single day before I do my studying, like schoolwork, I'm gonna learn a few words of this particular language. You get what I'm saying? I'm gonna learn a few words here. So you learn those few words, and then the cue is that over time you're gonna have that thing here. Okay, every single time after I learn a new word, I jump right into studying. You get what I'm saying? I jump into studying after doing that thing. But then if gintuele ya hore wena, after I mean before you study, you are on your phone, like you just scrolling on your phone, and then you say uh, uh, um after a few minutes I'm gonna get into studying. That's where the whole procrastination thing is, because you never really know when to stop. You never really know your limit when it comes to using your phone, right? You just keep on using it. No one is gonna come to you and say, "Hi, you've been on your phone for too long," right? You don't have that restriction for yourself. So it's two things, right? What I just said is two things. Number one, try and find something new that you can learn, a language, a book, read a book, study something, read about something, find a new hobby. There are so many things that you can do. Try and find that one thing. And then number two, make sure that you start setting a limit for your daily screen time. Make sure that you know for every single day I can only get 5 hours on my phone or less. Look at your current, go to your settings, go to your screen time, see how your average, right? Most of the time your screen time is gonna be like average thing, like 8 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours, 7 hours, 9 hours. It's gonna be an even type of thing, almost even, right? So try and like reduce it and say, I'm gonna keep my screen time to strictly less than 5 hours. I can't go beyond this. Because now if you have that limit to yourself, it's gonna be easier even when you have to get into your studying and okay, my 5 hours is over now. So I have to get into this. And then as time goes on, you reduce and reduce the screen time, you reduce, and then you get better, you spend less time on your phone, right? Because at the end of the day, TikTok inside of your phone is the main distraction, not the phone itself, right? So you're trying to limit yourself from the amount of for in your the amount of time that you spend on a particular app. We're trying to limit that, not the amount of time that you spend on your phone. You can never spend an hour on your calendar or calculator, or like there is a particular app on your phone that you spend more time on, and you know yourself, you know what the app is. Hore, there are days whereby you go onto that app and you don't even know what you're looking for. You just go there and it's like, I'm bored. So right now we're trying to counteract that in a sense that we are looking for something to do instead of just endlessly scrolling. I don't want to say we are trying to find a purpose, but then, yeah, that's too deep, but we're just looking for something that you can do instead of doing something that you never know. You don't even know when it's going to end. Even right now, watching this live, when the live ends, you don't know how much time you're still gonna continue spending on your phone, because it's a Saturday, there's no school, so I'm just chilling. So that's how it's gonna be for the most part. Exam season, it's gonna strike you the same way. So while it's still this early in the year, you need to try and have those limits for yourselves. Goals goals come along with limits or restrictions. Restrictions is a better word. Limit asion. Your goals should come with restrictions with certain things. If you want to, if your goal is to get that 80 in maths, you can't tell me you're still spending more than 10 hours on your phone, right? So yes, you have that goal and you have what you can do to get to that goal, but then you still have those distractions. You still have those things that are gonna keep you from your goal. And when now you're gonna label it as procrastination instead of a distraction, because in actual fact, procrastination is just a single thing, right? You're just procrastinating because you're choosing to do something else instead of your work, and that something else is the only thing that's the problem. Procrastination as a whole is not something that you should wear every single day and say, yo, I'm a procrastinator, I always procrastinate and leave my work to the last minute. No, you don't leave your work to the last minute. You are on your phone until the last minute, and then your that back side of your head, yeah, hore, do the work, it's only gonna come alive at that last minute because you realize or everything is at stake. So that brings me to my next point. Avoid the last minute, Joe. Whether it's with studying, doing an assignment, doing your homework, avoid last minute because, and I'm not saying this because of like the reasons Tahori, hey, it's not safe and all that. I'm just saying this because there is so much that comes with the satisfaction of knowing that you're done with the work and you have all that extra free time. You get what I'm saying? So now imagine it's a Saturday, you have an assignment that's due on Friday, you leave it every single day, you do that one thing, you're on your phone or whatever, you do that thing, you do that thing, and then last minute Thursday, last minute, and then you that's only when you choose to do the work. And obviously stress is gonna be there, but then now imagine if you had done it at the beginning, and now you have all those days, you have your Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday free, you know that you're done with your assignment, right? So it's a thing, Yaore, try as much as possible to, I know it's not easy, but then try as much as possible for you to be able to complete your work as soon as possible. Like what I usually do there is that I set the deadline to like 2 days before. So if my work or like a particular assignment is due on Friday, what I say to myself, I care it, that work is due on Wednesday, so I need to be done with this thing by Wednesday, right? To myself, and that's my deadline. So if I miss this one, then you can ping. Also set a new deadline for yourself. Don't always use the one ebo fang yona ko sekolong, but hey, by Friday this should be done. Change it, bring it closer. Say Wednesday, by Wednesday I should be done by this thing. And then you will see that yes, you're gonna do that last minute thing, but then now you're gonna be last minute thing to something that's not really last minute. You get what I'm saying? So it's like you're trying to set a new roadblock for yourself, and it's gonna be a bit earlier, and then you're gonna have that all that extra time to yourself. Wow, wow. So try and bring the deadline closer, because it's not that easy to just say start your work early, don't wait for last minute. It's really not that easy. So this is a very good method to use when we say don't wait for last minute. What you simply do, set a new deadline for yourself. Yes, at the back of your mind, offense, you're lying to yourself. We know the deadline is on Friday, so why or a Wednesday? But then it all comes with the discipline, right? It all comes with the feeling, yeah, I want to be done with this work, and the deadline is on Wednesday. But so you're trying to work on that inner thing, yeah, I want to finish this work before this day. And it's something over time, the more you do it, you get used to the feeling, yeah, every single work that I'm doing, I shift the deadline to a closer date. Not fela that extra pressure. Because remember, with most people, but they work well under pressure. You don't work well under pressure. There's no such thing. You don't work well under pressure. What happens under pressure is that your brain switches on and you realize how much is at stake. So obviously you're forced to work. You are forced to work. You're not working well. You're just working because I want a choice. So kawana the whole thing when you're working well under pressure. There is no such thing. You will work well if you start early, and then day by day you just keep on checking that thing, reviewing your mistakes. If there are any mistakes on that thing, you fix them, and it's gonna be very easy. So it's something little worry. I want you guys to just like remove the entire mentality. In fact, I almost said like forget about, but you can't really forget about it. But then try and replace that mentality, or you work well under pressure, or you study well under pressure, like studying the day before. It works. It used to work for me. I used to study life science the day before almost every single test throughout my high school journey. I studied the day before and I still got my 80s. But it was like I didn't know what was going on, and I still kept that illusion, yeah, when I'm under pressure, I'm gonna work best, right? But in actual fact, what just simply happens is that you 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 are working simply because you don't have a choice. So now imagine it in a sense, yeah, if you had all the extra days, like if you start the work early, and then all these extra days you're gonna have them free all to yourself, and then you can choose what to do with that extra time. So it brings me to my next point. It's very important for you to realize or note, take down what you do during that time when you are leaving things for the last minute. You know how, like, the assignment is due on Friday, and then when you start it on Thursday, pay very, very careful attention to what you were doing Monday to Wednesday. What have you been doing? Because that thing that you were doing instead of doing the work during those days is what is gonna kill you and affect you and come back to bite you during your final exams. And you won't even see it coming. You really won't see it coming. It's something Elimore, you pretend like it's not a distraction due to the fact that there is still time to do the work. You get what I'm saying? You still have time to work. You still have time to just chill. So that chilling phase of you, just look at what you do during that period of time, because it's something very, very important. It's your biggest distraction, and you have to make sure you take care of that distraction, replace it as soon as possible, find something to do instead of whatever that thing is, because it's really not gonna be nice or in the long run. So yeah, that is about it when it comes to like the whole procrastination thing, man. It's something more, it's very easy, like I said. Don't pressurize yourself thinking or when you don't like school, so you will do it later because it's boring. It's only boring because you have something better or something that you are prioritizing instead of the work. And if you didn't have that thing, you are definitely gonna do the work. You get what I'm saying? So try and identify that small thing that is affecting you, that is killing you, and that is gonna continue killing you during your final exams. Because when they come, everyone is focused, everyone is quiet, and you're not even gonna realize, Hore, that is like your biggest distraction, right? For example, your phone. Your phone right now, it's like it's fun because it's not really a problem. It's just the phone. Or I'm just on TikTok for a few hours. But then in the long run, and when you look back, you realize how much time you have lost just being on TikTok and chilling Instagram reels, right? And that extra time should have been spent on like something else, not studying. I'm not saying study the whole day, but then you're gonna have so much time such that you can do something else with that time that you. Ish, man, these people. Yeah, but you're gonna have so much time that like you can choose to do anything with your time, but then just don't spend it on something that you know, Hore, at the end of the year, and I look back, Hore, what did you learn while being on TikTok for the entire year? What were you learning, or what was the video that you watched 30 minutes ago? What was it talking about? What was things like that? So that's why the number one cure, not even a cure, but something to help you, something to keep hold you accountable when it comes to that thing, it's definitely journaling. Write down your day, what goes down throughout your day. Maybe 3 times a day. You start like when you wake up, you just write about maybe the night, how you were feeling throughout the night. And then around 12 in the afternoon, you just take it out. If okay, some days you go to school. During break time, even when you're at school, take it out, write down what has been going on, or what have you been feeling, what have you been observing. When you get home, you do the same thing. You write down what happened throughout the rest of the day at school. right? And then before you sleep, you do the same thing. You just write down, and then you're gonna have this movie of what essentially goes on in your life, and you are gonna what's gonna happen is that your mind is gonna try as much as possible to fill in some gaps, because you're gonna be like, I spent 4 hours on TikTok, because you're gonna have to write it down, right? You're gonna have to write it down. So when you look at it and you're like, imagine if someone else will hold this book or this journal of mine, and they're gonna read that I was on TikTok for 4 hours. So this is just ultimately gonna help you um realize your full potential. Yeah, hore, I need to find something else to do with my time, or I need to actually look for something I know, or I can replace here, and journal more about, and learn. Maybe it's learning a new language. So now let's say you're learning Spanish. Every single day when you learn a new word, you just write it. Okay, today I learned that okay, I don't know Spanish, but I learned this particular word. I learned hore dintang is Spanish for wirahalang. Or so you just learn something every day, and then you write it in there. And then over time, it's a beautiful thing to just reflect on the journal and see your journey. Like it's a beautiful thing to just see, or yo, I was once like this. And then over time, this is something that is gonna just simply, very, very simply learn more about yourself. Because right now you may think that you know yourself, you know what you want, you know what you like, but it's something where it's very limited. It's limited at the moment. And once you start writing down what goes on your day-to-day life, the amount of hours that you spend studying, all those different things, you're gonna realize, or no man, I could do better than this. When I look back on my vision board and I realize, or I want an 80% in maths, and then I'm only studying 2 hours a day. Is it really gonna work? Or so you write such things, and then you realize, or I need to improve on this, I need to work on this, I need to remove this, I need to stop doing this, I need to add this, just to add a few things that you can journal about, more things that you can write about, or this is what I was doing, this is what I was doing with my time. And trust me, this is something where it's going to help you in the long run, and it's going to be very beautiful to just see how far you have come. So self-improvement is not something where you get from another person, inspiration from Ofense's life is like this, so I'm just gonna also try and adjust. It's something that you just discover simply on your own, and you just simply discover this by writing. The more you write about your thoughts and feelings, the more you express yourself. There are certain things right now that are in your mind, but the only reason they are not coming out is because you are always having something else to do. Like you're always in TikTok, for example, so you never really get a chance to think about what you like in life, what you want, what you aspire, all those different things. But then once you have a book, you have a pen, you sit in silence, you put your phone there very, very far, and then you start writing, you are going to be forced to think, oh, what am I going to write about? How was my day? You start asking yourself, how am I feeling? All those different things. And then the more you ask yourself, the more you realize, or no man, hey, for the past 5 days I've been saying I'm sad, I'm sad, I'm sad, or well, what's going on? And now self-introspection, you learn more about yourself, learn more. So I always say, or don't come to me and say I want to improve, like I want to get better at this particular thing. I'm like, are you writing down your thoughts and feelings? Because before you go to anyone else about what you want to be, it's something that you should have written down. How you are feeling about the fact that you are failing a particular subject. It's something that you should have written down, and how you're actually feeling about it. Because sometimes it's something where it just quotes, ke ntho e le ya hore because there are so many people around you, let's say they are also failing that particular subject, you never really get time to understand how you feel about that thing, because everyone is just saying something, maths, or everyone is just complaining. So you just add on to that complain, learn or no complain. But then you guys, everyone is unique, and you're always going to react differently to failure. You're going to react differently to succeeding, to understanding a topic. You're going to study differently, right? So it's something, even if you come to me and say, how do you study? I'm gonna bring back the question to you and say, how do you study? And then you're gonna be forced to tell me how you study. And then for most people, it's like, what I've seen, they can't answer the question back. Like when I ask someone, when they come to me and they ask me, how do you study? And then I ask them back, I'm like, how do you study? They can't answer the question back because it's like, it's something you never really thought about, but then you're looking for tips from someone else, or how can I do it? But then the question is, how are you doing it and how can you improve yours? Why can't you be the person, or someone is coming to you and saying, how do you study? Like if someone was to come to you and ask you how you study, how do you explain it to them? Then they ask you, how do you remember the things you study? These are some of the questions that just help you understand the type of person that you are when it comes to study methods and skills or whatever. Or boy, you just keep on asking yourself these questions. Okay, right now if I'm studying life science, how am I sure that I'm going to remember this thing? Right? It's a simple yet very interesting question. How are you going to remember this? Right? So now you're forced to go back to your drawing board of studying. You're forced to maybe change your study method. You're forced to study in a different way, study location. Your method of studying is going to change. Try new things, right? You're just simply gonna try this on your own, not because someone said so, but then just simply because you know that it's not working. Because if it was working for you, you wouldn't go out asking other people how they study, right? So it's just a very, very simple thing when it comes to self introspection. Ask yourself these questions. For the most part, if you notice, like I always say in most of the videos, I think the last time I uploaded was like 3 months ago, but then what I always say in the videos is that, what are you doing right now, right? Like, you are watching my video on how to get better at maths, but what have you been what have you been doing all along that makes you not get better at the subject, right? Like, what is wrong with your routine? So that is something that you are supposed to focus on, instead of trying to adapt someone else's routine, right? So when you come to me and ask me how I study, what you're trying to do is that you're trying to use the way I study and say, oh, maybe the way Ofentse does it is gonna work for me, right? And most of the time it won't work, right? It's something that is unique to you. You are born with a certain set of skills, methods that you work best with. So there is like there is no formula to remembering certain things. Obviously there are like proven methods, study methods selling where they work best for like most people. Like most people just like use those ones and it works, right? And then you'll find when you try that method that's working for everyone, it's like, with you it's not coming together. So you have to now go the extra mile and try and understand what works best for me. How do I study, because all these people are using this method and they're getting their 80s, but then I'm using the exact same method, but then the 80s are not there. So it is a huge problem. It is something along when we look at, it's very easy to just look over, because we just want to do what someone else is doing because they are passing, right? We just want to study how Petros is studying because why career 90% legal life science. And sometimes it might work for you as well, sometimes it might not. and what I always recommend, or go to your drawing board, ask yourself those questions, and then as time goes on, you will realize the type of person that you are. You will realize, or this life thing is something along where you have to have your own formula, or because now if you're using someone else's formula to study and then it doesn't work, it's like, ah, when you lied to me. I didn't lie to you, that works for me. When you have to go the extra mile and actually try and understand how do I study best, or like in what conditions do I how do I put this, like how you need to, the English is running away now because it's been like what, almost an hour. But then yeah, it's something that you have to find out yourself, explore the different methods. Don't just try something that's on the internet and then, did I say that right? Don't just try something that's on the internet. Yeah, don't try something that's on the internet and think it's gonna automatically work for you. Try almost every method that's there for a week at least. Now, while the year is just beginning, it's still February. Well, the year just started, the academic year just started, and you can still find your method. And I always say, Hore, it's not always about the hours that you spend doing the studying and all that. If the method that you're doing is wrong, you're still gonna get the 23%. Well, it's like you just have to make amends to realize, Hore, I am not restricted to using one method, right? There are so many different methods out there that I can use to study, and then you will find that yours is still out there and you haven't tried it out yet. So my simple, very 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 simple message to like you guys is just explore the study methods, explore the different study methods. Yes, in terms of the base, like it's always going to be the same, right? I remember there was a video that I did on life sciences, and I talked about how there are there are three I talked about how there are three different phases when it comes to studying life sciences, and that's something I just made up. No science or anything whatsoever, I just made it up, right? So I said there are three stages, right, when it comes to studying something like life sciences. The first stage is your active studying phase, right? This is where you use a certain method to actually understand the content, right? Remember, it's active studying, and there are so many different ways to do your active studying, right? And now there are like branches, there are maybe four different branches of how to study, right? So you have to pick your branch on how you're actively going to start a new topic and understand that topic, right? And then that is you starting the topic. And then I said phase two is the reinforcement phase, right? So the reinforcement phase is where you 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 repeat, right? The reinforcement phase is all about repetition. You repeat the things, sorry, you repeat the things that you are studying in the active learning phase. You are finding the best way to repeat. For most people, they do their repetition with flashcards. For most people, they use Feynman technique, like explaining to other people. You repeat, basically reinforcing the knowledge into your mind, right? That's the second part of the studying process. And then the last and final stage, I said is the testing, the testing phase, like, right, that's the final phase when it comes to studying. This is where you actually practice. Now you do your past papers, you practice, just do questions, study, practice those questions, check the memo, and do that, right? And notice how these are three different phases, right? These are three different phases. The first one, active learning phase. Second one is the reinforcement phase. The last one is the testing phase. In all these three phases, each of them, we are all going to do it differently. For example, my active learning phase is not gonna be the same as yours. Yours, maybe your active learning phase is you just opening the textbook and reading and understanding automatically. With my active learning phase, I have to like watch someone on YouTube explaining, right? Some people they listen to like a teacher or something. Some people, I don't know, we have different ways, right? Some people read notes, their own notes, they write their own notes, and it's that simple. So it's different for everyone when it comes to the first part of understanding a concept for the first time, right? And then even in the second phase, the reinforcement phase, it's going to be different for everyone, right? For example, you have, I talked about flashcards. You're gonna have your flashcards, for example. Most people prefer to use flashcards. Some people prefer, how do you repeat? Most people prefer to like teach themselves. So like they pretend as if they're in front of a class and they repeat the things that they just studied in the active learning phase, and they just repeat them and try and reinforce it, right? So the more you repeat, the more you reinforce the knowledge, right? And this is the second part of the entire learning process, and there are so many different ways, right? And this is just me trying to make you understand that we are all gonna be different. So don't ask someone how they study and then you try out their method of studying. Don't ask someone how they study. If you are going to ask someone how they study and you try it out, make sure, hore, as soon as you see, or this is not your thing, leave it. Like you can try. Yes, you can ask me how I study. I tell you how I do my maths. I tell you the entire process. You try it. If it's not working for you, leave it. Don't say, I Ofentse uses this method and he gets his 90% in maths. So it also has to work for me. It's not. Well, chances are it's not. And you have your own unique way of doing things, right? It's always gonna be different. So try and find yourself. And one last thing that I want just to cover that part, it also just goes along with the journaling, right? So for example, if I am studying one topic, right? What is one topic in grade 12? Life sciences, grade 12, evolution, right? There is evolution in grade 12 life sciences. So if I try Ofentse's method of studying, ne? Ofentse tells me how he studies life sciences or how he used to study life sciences. I try that method, study the content. I don't really get this thing. Well, ask someone else. I try that method, study. Not really. Someone else, different method. As much as in this entire process you are trying different methods, but then what you're going to realize as time goes on is that you are actually repeating the studying process. You are reinforcing the knowledge because you have been repeating the same content, and obviously it's gonna stick more to your knowledge, not because like you're studying it now with a particular method, but because you've been trying all over and over. That's why I say people use the whole like don't give up thingy very loosely, but then it's something that's very important, especially when it comes to studying and a new topic that you don't understand. Like honestly, don't give up. Like how I usually explain understanding a new topic, especially in maths, because it's one of the most difficult subjects. Maths, physics, your accounting. I always say, hooray, the first time it might not make sense, right? You might do it the first time, ask someone to explain it to you. No, I don't understand you. But then from that session that you had with that person, there is something that you got. There is a piece of information that you're gonna carry from that session, and it's gonna stick to your memory. And then from there you try again. You say, okay, now let me try Euclidean one more time. You try it again. Maybe this time you do past papers. You look at the memo. Okay, I see how they did it here, but then I don't understand towards the end. Well, there is something that you got from that entire process. So the more you try different methods of studying, the more you are actually helping yourself and taking a bit of something from each study session. And all those bits, bit by bit, they are all gonna come together into this huge puzzle and come together, and papar, you are understanding Euclidean geometry, you know how to do your Euclidean geometry questions, and then they're like super easy. So it's something I would say it takes time. It takes time to understand a topic, right? And most people give up at a certain point, and they're like, I Euclidean is not for me, or Euclidean is not for me, I'm out, but then not knowing hore, it only takes one video, it takes one explanation for everything to just connect. If you think about some of the topics that you didn't understand initially, there was something that someone said, whether it was a YouTube video or an explanation in class. After that particular explanation, everything just connected, everything was just started making sense, right? So it's a very simple thing, but then a very complex thing at the same time that needs a lot of patience. Understanding a difficult topic needs a lot of patience, like a lot. And I always say, any, like when I say this, I usually say it very loosely because most people don't believe me. Or I always say, every single topic is understandable. There is no topic, whether it's your maths, your physics, every single topic there is something that you can do, you are capable. It's in grade 12 because it's for your level. It's some, they wouldn't give you something that you don't understand. So we are all different, we are all unique. We take different amounts of time to understand a certain concept. So it's not yet your time, but don't stop trying to understand. Don't stop trying to understand, because it's gonna click, and the day it's going to click, the feeling is amazing when you actually start understanding that one topic that has been troubling you for so long. And think about it, everyone has like always had that one topic, I've never liked this topic, but then after some time you're just like, oh wow, this is interesting because now I'm getting this part from it. And then the next time you do it, you get another part, you get another part. Take the parts, come together, make one thing, right? So it's very easy to give up, but don't give it. No, don't give it. Don't give up. Don't give up when it comes to understanding a topic. That's something very, very, very important. Yes, something like Euclidean geometry is very huge. It's a very big topic, especially in grade 12. Grade 12, you have like three different parts to Euclidean geometry. You have your proofs, right? You have your proofs which don't change. You have like the grade 11 Euclidean geometry, right? You have the Euclidean that you came with from grade 11, and then you also have your, sorry, you have your bargaining proportionality theorem. I remember with the proportionality theorem when I first got there, like grade 12. What is going on? Proportionality, what? Triangle. I always understood it was that whole concept there where I understand in class, I understand the homework, but then when it comes to the test, it's different, right? So that was the thing with me with proportionality theorem in Euclidean. I always understood the basics. Like I get that this side is double that side. I always understood that part, but then I never really knew how to connect that in the exam. You get what I'm saying? Like I know that small bit of information, but then when it comes to the exam, hey man, say you didn't tell us how to answer this, because yes, the homework was very, very easy, but then now we are in the exam, it's something different. Wabo. So it's something over time I just did it, and the more I practiced it, the pieces that started coming more and more, and then the more you connect those pieces, it just becomes one thing. And before you know it, you understand the whole topic. Yeah, proportionality theorem. Someone just asked me, what is the hardest topic that you found in maths grade 12? Okay, let me see. It was, I would say, let me see, algebra check, number patterns check, functions check, trig, not really, check. Okay, so how it was with me, I don't have a particular topic that I didn't understand. So like for example, when it came to something like functions, right? Like you see functions, I would always get like the first five questions correct. And then if you later for what values of x, yo, for what values is f of x greater than g of x, then I freeze. Wow. So I wouldn't say functions was difficult because it was literally only that particular section. So in every single topic, I always had like a small question that I had to like focus on and improve. And that's like what I always recommend. It's not that you don't understand Euclidean geometry. There is something inside of Euclidean geometry that you're struggling with. So, for example, with uh, uh, um, trig, I struggled for some time with trig in 3D, right? Like the triangles, and then they ask you prove that x is equal to, and then they give you a huge thing, right? Something like that. I used to struggle with that for some time, but then over time, the more practice you get into it, before June, you should just make sure you understand every single question that you come across in a topic, in a question paper, not the topic, because topic, here is a topic, and then I ask you, I'm like, what's the most difficult topic? What is Euclidean geometry? And then I give you a 1.1 type of question that says, find another angle that is equal to x, and then you get that correct. Would you still say you're struggling with Euclidean geometry? No. Yes, you're struggling with Euclidean geometry, but there is something inside of it. So never generalize. I think that's one thing I would say. Don't generalize your topics. Try and break down your topics as much as possible. I remember, for example, in what's this, calculus, right? I remember in calculus, I never referred to calculus as calculus. I knew that in calculus, I think you guys haven't done calculus by now, but then when you get to calculus, you'll get what I'm saying. So it was always a thing, yeah, or I would say there's no such thing as calculus. I have the first part, it's on, what is that thing called again? The law, not the law, man. Something principle. Yo, I forgot what it's called. But then it was like the first question in calculus, right? They will tell you differentiate according to first. Oh, I forgot. But then differentiate according to something, right? It was like the first question, and then uh, 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 um, from there, the next question is like cubic graphs, right? There were cubic graphs in calculus, and then there is application of calculus, which was the most difficult. Okay, actually, to answer your question, the most difficult one was application of calculus. I lied. That it gave me some problems before I actually understood it. So there are three parts in calculus. There's the differentiating part, there is differentiating again using the rules, there is cubic functions, and then lastly there is your application of calculus, right? This last one is the one that you're gonna find the most difficult. These are very easy. Cubic graphs are very similar to your functions, or at some point you just get used to it because most of the things just connect. How to finding your x-intercept, you just let y equal to 0, y-intercept x is equal to 0. It's most of the things are similar, it's just functions. Application of calculus is something new in grade 12. It's not something you've done before, so it was a bit difficult for me, I won't lie, for some time actually. And then obviously it's like how do I put this, it's it's like it's proportional to the amount of work that you put in, man. Like the amount of work that you put in into a topic, not into maths. Don't put work into maths. Put work into calculus. Put work into Euclidean geometry. Be as specific as you can when it comes to your practicing. Don't sit down to practice maths. Otherwise, you are gonna get two questions correct and say, I'm ready. Ha. So in actual fact, you're not ready. So try and be as specific as possible when you're practicing. Try and like go deeper into the topic. There is so much inside of Euclidean geometry that most people just generalize Euclidean and they're like, yo, that topic is so difficult. But then, for example, you have that first part in Euclidean geometry, proving the theorems. Theorem proving. Is it proving? Theorem. Yeah, proving. Yeah, it's called proving. The part where you have to prove a particular program. Yo, you have to prove a particular theorem. So it's like, for example, cyclic quad, opposite angles of a cyclic quad, angles in this, no, not angles in the same segment, tangent, tan chord theorem, all those things. Those are things that don't change, right? It's theorems, they are constant, they don't change. So you have to make sure that you know those things. And then most people, what they do is that they leave those theorems for the last minute. Like, let's say you have a maths exam coming up, you leave those things for the last minute. You're like, I know, let me focus on this bigger part because I know that trigonometry, for example, it don't clap without actually realizing that if you had spent at least, it just takes 5 minutes a day, not a lot, 5 minutes a day, look at one theorem, look at the theory, the proof, write it down. After a week, go back, try and write it down again. Do this cycle for every single theorem. By the end of March, you would have known every theorem by head, and you won't even have to waste time trying to think about how to prove because it's we cremile pila pila and you crammed it into the long-term memory. So when it comes to such easy things, just make sure you don't slip. Make sure you don't slip when it comes to your theorems. Those things should always be at the back of your head. Even right now, if you ask me to prove the theorem, yeah, tan chord, I can do it. Not because I'm smart or anything, but because I was just repeating it. I was just repeating it so much that it's just stuck in my memory. Well, there's no such thing as, or yo, wow, you remember all these theorems. It's just spaced repetition. You just space it, and then it's like over time you just realize, or oh, it's actually better when I space these things evenly instead of just doing everything at once. Like instead of I work well under pressure. I think at the beginning of the life, if any of you was here, I talked about how there is no such thing as working well under pressure. You are just working under pressure. You're not working well. You are just working because of not choice. Because it's what you have to do because you didn't do your work. You didn't study. So you have to work. And now it makes you feel like you are working well under pressure. Well, in actual fact, you're just doing what you have to do. But then if on the other hand you try and evenly space every single day, you just do one question in Euclidean, uh, uh, um over time you get familiar and familiar with more questions. And sometimes I remember with me, with some questions, it's not that I understood what's going on, but then I simply just came across it in a past paper. I saw the memo, I saw how to answer the question, and that was it. Not because I understand the core question being asked, but because I once saw something similar. So usually the whole concept, they all do past papers, it gets thrown around a lot, and most people, yes, they do past papers, but then you never really know why, or like how deep is it, but it's actually very deep in a sense that sometimes you work on your memory, you just get marks because of your memory, because you remembered how to do this particular question, especially in physics. Sometimes they ask these rare questions: what is the speed of the boy while he's sitting down and eating while standing? Just a random question. Or and then I am gonna be able to answer that question in the exam, not because not because I know or because I'm smart, genius, because I once saw something similar. I think the same thing happened with Matric 2024, right? So I told them, I was like, there's a question that's gonna come, application of calculus. It's either gonna be 8 marks, 9 marks, or 10 marks, right? They're gonna ask you to find the minimum distance. It's gonna be a question, a very long question, right? So, November 2018, they wrote a similar question to that one. What other year was it? 2015, November 2015. They also wrote a similar question to that one, right? And then I gave those people like those two resources. I'm like, look at this question, look at this question. You see how they are phrased so differently. Like one of them was talking about a graph and the minimum distance, center, what, I don't remember. And then the other one was just a shape. And then they were like, the minimum distance to cover what. These two questions were completely different scenarios, but then when you open the memo, you realize that this is the exact same method. And there are three steps. You calculate the distance using the distance formula, you differentiate. After differentiating, you equate to zero, and then you are done. But then when you are reading that question as a whole in the exam and it's 9 marks, obviously it will hubatsa, and you're like, what is going on here? Because you've never seen anything like that. But the more question papers you familiarize yourself with, the easier it's gonna be, and the more the more questions you're gonna have in your memory. So even when it comes to these small questions, remember how I said don't focus on a topic in general, just like select certain things within a topic. In functions, you're good with functions. You know how to find your x-intercept. You know how to do you find your coordinates. All those things, you know how to do them. But then that last question, yeah, for what values of x is f of x greater than g of x? It's the one that you're struggling with. So seek help. And when you're seeking help, don't say, I need help with functions. I need help with this question, help me understand how to solve this question. You get what I'm saying? So it's a very simple thing. And the more that you engage in such and you just are able to identify your gaps, identifying your gaps is a very important thing. And then over time, you'll realize that it's such a simple thing to just get through everything. So, Are, how far do you think I should go back in terms of question papers? 2008, 2008 is very far. 2008 is very far. I recommend just, I would say 2015. 2015 is fine. Like 5 years, I mean 10 years ago. So, and remember with these questions, now when it comes to most of the question papers, what happens is that you how do I put this? Like with most of the questions, there are so many question papers within the 10-year time frame. So like if I say since 2015, remember you have your final exams, right? For example, let's focus on maths paper 1, right? Maths paper 1 from 2015 to 2014. Oh no, man, sorry, 2024. So from 2015 to 2024, that's 9 years, right? 2015 to 2024, that's 9 years. So you already have nine maths paper ones. That's very easy, right? That's something you can do. Remember, you also have your trials. Remember, you also have your trials that they write. So your trial exams are like, what you call this thing? The trial exams are for each and every province. You have like 9 different provinces. So each and every province has a maths paper 1. Already you have nine in 1 year. and then 9 years you already have 81 different papers. So it's a lot, and don't try and go very, very far back. 2015 is fine, and the truth is you're not going to cover all of them, right? You're not going to cover all of them, but then what I always recommend, especially with your final exams, focus on the, okay, it's too early to be talking about final exams, but then focus on your trial papers, like the provincial papers. Focus on your provincial papers. Do those ones. They're the ones that are going to benefit you the most, because they make you think. Remember, these provinces, when they're setting the question papers, they're trying to compete, right? Which one is the most difficult, right? So focus on the provincial papers, all the different provinces. You can find them online and see the different levels of difficulty, because the final exam, like the November one, it's just to accommodate everyone, but then there's always going to be that extra question in the final exam that's like, ugh, what's going on here? Wow. But then when you do those trial exams, you will realize that, oh, November, these tricky questions, they actually take them from trial exams. Like I said, these provinces are trying to compete during trial exams, right? So they bring out the most difficult, they bring out their best, right? So during final exams, the department, the setters of the question papers, they go to the trials, look for the most difficult ones, one or two questions, just to limit the amount of learners that get 100%. One or two of the most difficult ones, and then when you know, okay, you covered those ones, and it's gonna be a breeze. So yeah, definitely I would say from 2015, and then all the way until 20, like 9 years until 2024, and then yeah, that is about it. Even 2020 is efficient. So don't, and usually how I do it, or how I recommend people do it, is that don't go chronologically. Like, don't say after 2015 get a 2016. Or just randomly do any paper. Like right now, I can tell you, go and do the Northwest 2019 paper 2 ya maths, ya trial, and then you go and do that paper. Also, it's like, do the most random one. Just make sure you don't like have a chronological thing. Okay, I did 2017, now I'm doing 2018. Don't do that. You're not gonna have time to do all of them. So pick randomly, pick very, very much randomly, mainly focusing on your trial papers, right? Focus on your trial papers for all the different provinces. Your June exams, they're gonna most likely set them based on your trial tricky questions, right? For the from the previous years, right? So use your trial papers to practice for your June exams. Your March also, use that one. You will see that these questions are actually difficult. And then those are the questions that you need. But then if you stick when you're gonna do November 2024, that paper was very, very easy. That's why when pass rate was skyrocketing. It was one of the easiest papers ever. So don't spoon feed yourself. Look for those difficult questions. If you open a question paper and then see, or hi man, this entire question is too easy, leave it. If you can see, or I'm gonna be able to answer all of these questions just by looking at them. The first question says, number patterns, calculate the value of T20, and then you go on to write. Ah, come on. Well, look for something that will challenge you. Look for something that will make you think. Those number pattern questions, what is the value of T20? Which term number is equal to 146? Those are things you've been carrying from grade 10. You know how to do them. So make sure you don't waste time on those questions. Just make sure you don't waste time on such questions. Look for questions that will make you think. Look for the difficult questions. And then for the most part, what I usually recommend is that there are so many YouTubers here on YouTube. There are so many YouTubers here, or there are so many people who create content here, or so they usually target, what you call this thing, they target the difficult questions. So for example, if maybe you're doing September 2024 Limpopo, trial exam, you come to YouTube and Google that. I mean, you search it on the search bar. Grade 12 Maths Paper 1, September 2024 Limpopo. You will find someone did the question here because it was very difficult. Wabo. So try and look for those challenging questions. Don't limit yourself to Ndwela ya hore I am practicing. It's anyone can practice. So now when you're spending your time doing algebra, question one, the only thing you should be doing in question one is your 1.3. You see right now, if you open any question paper, yeah, maths paper one, and go to the 1.3 question, those are the type of questions you should be doing because they're the ones that are going to stimulate your mind. They're the ones that are going to make you think. These quadratic formula questions, inequalities, standard procedure, it doesn't change. So try and look for these rare questions, like hunt for the rare questions. If you can, keep a list of those questions that you can be able to do throughout the year. I'm not saying do everything now, it's still very very early. But then when you are there browsing through past papers, randomly open question paper year 2018, and then you see, oh, this is new, this is not something that you usually see in number patterns. Write it down somewhere, November 2018 question 3. Well, I'm gonna come back to this, and then you have this long list. I used to have something like this. And no worry, I don't have my diary from Matric, but then I used to have like a long list of like the difficult questions. And I would try and like complete as many of those as possible. And this is something that's gonna help you very very much in terms of like maximizing your marks, getting as much as possible. Number patterns also have something. Applications make me think. Yeah, generally all the different topics have something. That's why when you asked me and you were like, which topic is the most difficult, I don't really have an answer as to which topic is the most difficult. You see, something as simple as number patterns. Number patterns is easy, but then there's always going to be that one question. So make sure that you identify those gaps in your, like, the topics that you've done so far. Remember in February, so you guys have covered number patterns. I think after that it's Euclidean, ne? I'm not sure, but then the next topic that you guys are covering, yeah, I think it's Euclidean. Whatever topic it is that you guys have covered so far, just look into it. Forget the basics. The basics are always gonna be there. For example, when you look at a question paper, when you're looking at a question paper, and then question one is like the basic question, solve it in your mind. Try and solve it in your mind. If you need a calculator, take out a calculator, papa, get the answer, open the memo. If you are right, you move on. Don't waste time trying to write down your process, all those things. Don't waste time on the easy questions because there is something called the illusion of competence, right? It's you being locked up in this illusion, Yahori, you are actually doing something when you're not, right? So just try as much as possible to stress yourself, like put that pressure on yourself for those difficult questions, because the illusion of competence just happens to be something along where you get too comfortable and you praise yourself for nothing. You praise yourself for being able to do 1.1.1 quadratic formula. Wabo. So it's an illusion, wabo, and it's something that you don't want to be stuck in. Just make sure you barking, what's that thing kana yabo Andrew Tate barking matrix. Make sure you break the matrix of grade 12 maths. There are those difficult questions that are out there, and then for the most part the teachers are never gonna tell you about those questions. So that's one very very interesting thing. And then when I got testing, you're gonna be like, but they didn't teach us. They're never gonna teach you. It's something that you have to go out on your own, look for the answers to that particular question. Once you find them, it's like you're going through them one by one by yourself. By yourself, it's no one is ever gonna come to you and say, hi, check out 1.3 yeah, November 2016. No one. Or so you have to be that person. Look for those questions, look for those difficult questions, and start going through them. Start going through them. Start exploring. Or it's gonna be, it's a very beautiful thing to experience. You know, just having to go through all those different questions. It's very nice, but then at the same time, it's like, uh, um, it's stressful because now all you're dealing with is the difficult questions. But then it's gonna pay off. Definitely gonna pay off. The first payoff is gonna be in June, or where you're gonna see the payoff during your June exams. You see, if you get the marks that you're aiming for, like let's say you have a goal to get 80% in your November final exams, right? If you are able to get something higher than that in your June exams, then your final exam is definitely gonna be easier, right? Because you are at a point whereby you know how these people think. They will never ask you these basic questions. They will never ask you define Euclidean geometry, because that's like the mindset that most people are stuck with. You try as much as possible to reinforce the basics into your head. You're not gonna do anything with those basics. So try as much as possible, seek more knowledge, seek more questions, seek everything. And then once you find those questions, do them day by day. Every single day have that one question. It's just something that's going to take you less than 10 minutes, you know. And then if maybe it's you can't solve it, maybe a few more minutes to just go on YouTube to ask. If YouTube is not helping, a few more minutes the next day your teacher, how do you solve this question? They explain to you how you do that question. Oh, okay. You write down the solution. You move on, so on and so on. This is you doing the difficult questions, right? And I'm not saying neglect your basics. Obviously, you'll still be covering your basics, but then at the same time, it's like this is your priority. Trust me. Because if you don't do these overstimulating questions, you are gonna be stuck in this illusion of competence. Your mind is gonna be very lazy, and you're gonna get to a point whereby you start getting those simple questions wrong. You start making these silly mistakes, right? But then the more you do difficult questions, the more attentive you are to detail. The more attention you pay to detail, the more you are able to say, or able to see, or okay, this is, I should be careful. This is a plus, not a minus. Well, these small things, you only realize them when you're doing the more difficult questions. But then when you're in your soft space, right, when you're on the sofa, it won't be nice. Well, it won't be nice because get routine. It's a routine. You're doing the exact same thing every day, and then you call that practicing maths. And unfortunately, that's not how it works. For you to get better at the subject, you need to encounter challenges. That's the only way you get better. So yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say on that one. What do you recommend I do when I practice the maths? Like maybe let's say listening to music. Should I or not? Look, that's more when it comes to your getting. It's something that's unique for everyone. You know, when it comes to additional things that it were in terms of your study routine, those are the small things that you have to test out yourself and see what's going on. The year is still very long. The year is still very long, so try listening to music, go and write that test. Stop the music, go and write that test and see the difference. And I'm not saying the test that you write at school. So practice something at home, and then look for a question paper, a match question paper, do that question paper, listen to music, try the question paper and a different question paper, and see the difference between the two, right? So it's something that is different for anyone. For me personally, I can't study with music at all. But then most people, headphones, boom, 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 and they study very well. And this is something that's unique for everyone. You are you, and I can't say do this, don't do this. Those are some of the small things that you have to identify. It's like you asking me, do you think I should study during the day or at night? That's a you thing. You get what I'm saying? That's more of a you problem. And it's like You have to figure out how your body works, how your mind works. That's why I don't know if you were here at the beginning of the video, but then I talked a lot about I talked a lot about journaling, right? You need to do a lot of journaling. You need to write down your thoughts and feelings. You need to grab a random book, even if you don't have like a dedicated book, but then just have paper to write on, right? So every single day, at the end of the day, you just write down about your study day, your studying part of the day, right? How was studying for today? Like someone is asking you, and then you just start writing. I studied for 3 hours today, and then okay, that's not enough considering how I want to get 80% plus, these small things. And then the more you write, the more you start asking yourself these small questions. Or okay, here I tried studying with music, but then I really couldn't really focus. I thought I could focus, but then it was just an illusion. It's just something that I saw people doing and I just tried doing, and it's not working for me. So you are going to find out you're going to realize a lot more about yourself the more you write about yourself. Don't try and get tips from someone, especially when it comes to study habits. When it comes to the method in general, when it comes to practicing, that one is general. It's just you doing past papers. But then the habits that come along with the study process, just make sure it's something that is you, or it's a part of you. Some people, they like, there's so many things, like what you said about music. There's the whole thing on the time of day when you study. Some people eat during the study periods. With me, I can't even eat. Like if I have snacks, the snacks are gonna finish before I even start. Wow, so it's like some people have those snacks to keep them going. And you can see, Ore, everyone is different. You're gonna have your own unique way, and the more you journal, you're gonna write more about how your method works, right? You're gonna write more about how yours is different from the others. So try as much as possible to just limit the amount of study habits that you get from other people. Most of these things are gonna be coming from you, from your own self introspections. In general, the methods are going to be the same for your theoretical subjects: geography, life science, business studies. The method to understanding the concepts and excelling in answering the past papers, it's exactly the same, right? But then there are certain things that you just add, like your spices. There are certain things that you just add on top. We have different spices that we add. So regards to one, we are not gonna be the same. And yeah, that's pretty much about it. Don't worry about the things that come with the studying. Just try and focus a lot on the the method itself, and then all these enhancements, you will realize them the more you stick to a particular routine. You will realize, oh no man, I actually can't focus when I'm doing this at night. Well, I can't focus when my phone is next to me. I can't focus when this is like this, when my notifications are on, when I have TikTok on my phone. So these are just additional things to add to your study habits. And yeah, it's different for everyone, but you create your own story in this life thing. And yeah, minimize the amount of tips that you get from people when it comes to habits, unless if it's like the core study process. Like if you come to me and ask me, Ofentse, how do you study? I'm gonna ask you back the question, how do you study? Wabo. And then for most people, they can't really answer this question. They are unable to answer the question, but they want me to answer and explain how I study. So I asked the question back, I'm like, how do you study? And then now you are forced to explain your process of studying. And then I am like, how do you make sure that with your method of studying, the things that you study, you remember them? Now you start thinking again, oh, actually, for the most part, I don't remember what I study. What did you study yesterday? What were you studying? What was it about? Although you don't remember. So for the most part, these small things are things that these are questions that you should ask yourself. And the core study habits are gonna be the same. I think I made an example earlier with the theoretical subjects. If maybe you were not here when I was talking about that, just try and check the video on life sciences. You know, like most people didn't click on that video because it said life sciences, but then trust me, it's the same for all theory-based subjects. 3 steps: active learning, reinforcement phase, and then the testing phase. There are three. There are always gonna be three. So try and look at that video. This applies to every single topic that you come across. And then for your practical, your math, your physics, your accounting, it's a bit different. But then Leonide has a particular method that it follows, and it's rigid. You know, the core method of practicing your maths, it's gonna be the same. You just have to ask yourself how you are doing it now, right? If you want my study method, what is wrong with yours? You get what I'm saying? So what makes you get to a point whereby you start asking me how I study? What is wrong with yours, right? Why can't you study the way you are studying? So then you're gonna have to answer that question. No, I don't like the way I study because I keep on forgetting things. So try something different, right? Switch it up. And then this is you just trying different methods. The year is still very long. You still have a lot of time to figure out yourself. Maybe if you were getting your 60s in maths throughout since grade 10, it's something that can easily improve. Or it's something that can easily improve, you just need a different method. And I have seen people, like in my grade 12 year, I saw people actually improving. And these were like people who have been getting like their 40s, 50s, from grade 9, grade 10. And then now it's getting better. Why? Because they changed their approach. They changed their approach towards their studying, they changed their mindset towards their studying. So there's a lot that goes into it. Just make sure that you are also able to know yourself, very well, what works for you, what doesn't, and don't stick too much to the idea, Yahoo, of thinking that something works for you. Sometimes something might be good for you, but there's always something better. So don't say I'm a night person when you've never tried studying in the morning or during the afternoon, right? When you just wake up, you decide or you're a night person, but then you didn't try during a different time. So yeah, it's a very important thing. It's a very beautiful thing, and I'm gonna talk about these throughout the week. Actually, throughout the week, I'm just gonna be recording videos and posting them. Because like our classes only start the week after next week. That's only when I'll be going back to school. Then it's gonna be like vlogs, day in the lives. But then for now, the entire of next week, I'm just gonna be posting videos on like your procrastination, your TikTok addiction, whatever, all those different things. And then today was just me coming back to YouTube, seeing what's going on and stuff. But then overall, the year just started and time is still there to change. Sorry, to change your current methods. If you got 60 on the previous maths test that you just wrote, then your method is wrong. Try something different. Or if you know very well that the reason you got the 60 was because what you call this thing was because you studied last minute, then that's a good thing, because you know yourself, you know that it was because I left everything for the last minute. But then I highly recommend that you don't leave things for the last minute, man. And I know that this is something that gets thrown around a lot, like in a sense, yeah, hey, most people defend this by saying, I work well under pressure. There's no one that works well under pressure. So don't leave things for the last minute. When you have time, if you what helps a lot is shifting the deadline to 2 days before. So if your thingy, your assignment, your homework, your test is in 2 days, I mean, it's on Friday, try as much as possible to imagine it and keep it, hore, it's on Wednesday, right? So if I have an assignment, that assignment is due on Wednesday. So by Wednesday, I should make sure I'm ready. Wow. So this is you just shifting the deadline to a closer date because it's gonna help you prepare better and realize that when I'm actually under pressure, the only reason I'm studying so much is because I am anxious and I'm scared that I might fail this thing. So I'm working a lot and now it makes me feel like I'm being productive. And there's no such thing. So while you still have time, do your studying. Right now, during your weekends, plan plan first. Don't just decide to okay, now I got motivation from Ofentse, I'm going to study. Always plan your study sessions. Always plan your study sessions. What do you want to get by the end of the session? What do you want to have learned? What is something that you want to say? Okay, I had a session last night. On Saturday I had a session, I learned one, two, three. So you should always have a plan. Don't just sit down to practice Euclidean because for the most part, you're not gonna get much. You are going to get something every time, but then when you have a plan, it's gonna be way better. So try and have a plan every single time you sit down to study. What do you want to have achieved by the end of the session? And just simply the method that you use, and like just make sure that you know that this is what works for me, like based on previous tests. From the previous tests that I've written, I can tell you that this is what works best for me. So try and identify that, make sure that yeah, I am sure this is what is going to work for me. But then with most people you'll find that you've been getting your 60s since grade 10, and then now you are telling me who when in grade 12 you are going to improve, you are now serious, but then you're still using the exact same methods you were using grade 10 and 11. Nothing is going to change. Unfortunately, it's very, very unfortunate that nothing is going to change. If you were using the exact same methods to study and you're trying to use them again now, but then now you just have this extra pump of motivation, yeah, hore, this is my year. But then if you know you've been getting 50s all along, change the method. Make sure you change as soon as you can, because unfortunately that's not how it works, right? That's not how it works. Not what when you have motivation your marks are also gonna skyrocket, sorry, this English, your marks are going to skyrocket. That's not how it works. If the method is wrong, the marks are also just gonna stay like that, unfortunately. So work on that, and then yeah, I think I'm gonna end the live now. It's been like what, 2 hours. So yeah, that is essentially what I just wanted to share. If you missed like most part of the live video, just go back to like the beginning. I think I was cooking there. I was cooking at the beginning about procrastination. Just go back to that part, and then yeah, other than that, this was just me trying to inform people, because I know that with my live videos what happens is that most people watch the videos after the live video. So like after I've posted it, that's when most people start watching, especially now during the weekend. But yeah, essentially that is about it from me for today. And then throughout the week I'll be posting a lot of videos, right? I'll be posting a lot of videos, and then a few announcements. I have like I published this book, right, for like high school learners, and then it's something that essentially has everything that I talk about on my channel, right? It's a book that helps you with I don't want to even mention a particular thing because it covers every single thing that you encounter when it comes to your high school journey, right? It talks about your lack of motivation, those days when you don't feel like studying. It talks about the people around you, your friends, your teachers. It talks about the methods that you are using to study. It talks about the mindset that you're carrying throughout the year. I wrote the book last year. I wrote the book last year and published it like in June last year, 2024. So it's a very good book. And then in like my video descriptions, there's like a video, a thingy on how to get it and stuff. But then, yeah, I wish you guys all the best. I wish everyone all the best in their academic journey. I mean, I'm not going anywhere. I'm gonna be here throughout the year, but then the year just started, and two takeaways from this video to just close it off. If you have been getting 50s all along in a particular subject, and then now you are in the next grade and you have this huge pump of motivation, and then you still see yourself having the same habits, having the same routine, I just want you to know that nothing is going to change. Change the method that you're using to study, or else that 50 is always going to be a 50. Well, I'm speaking from experience when it comes to this thing. Switch up your study method, try something different, ask people how they study, listen to them, try those different methods, try everything. Bona, YouTube has so many people speaking on how to study. Try those different people, and then yeah, it's going to pay off at the end. Just make sure that this is the year for you to try out and explore new methods, new habits, new environments in terms of like how you approach your studying, right? And then the mindset that you just carry overall, how you handle your failure. There's a lot that goes into it, and I can't just like I won't be able to cover everything in one video. But most of these things are accompanied by self introspection. So these are things that you are going to realize on your own about yourself. I'm not gonna be here to like tell you how you think or how you should think or how you've been thinking or whatever, or it's something that you realize the more you journal, write down your thoughts and feelings. That's one thing for sure. If you didn't already have a book to write down those things, just make sure you have something. It's not gonna be easy to have a routine at the beginning or like make it a habit, but then make sure every night at least, or in the morning, if night yapala, in the morning when you wake up, write about the previous day, write about what you plan to achieve today, right? So live. Yeah, this is very big, but I didn't want to go this deep, but then live your life while timing, I mean tracking everything. Barry, plan your track and then track your plan. So yeah, that is essentially about it from me, and all the best. Cheers.